Julia, Katharina, and I were working together on the Prototype Fund, which is a German funding program that supports people who develop free and open source software, or FOSS for short. And in the course of our work, we realized that we supported people who develop applications and programs, but we were less successful in reaching people who contribute to infrastructure, even though we wanted to support them. And since we heard similar things from other tech funders, we decided to look into the reasons behind this and figure out how funders can support FOSS communities and infrastructure projects more effectively.
We used a human-centered research approach and conducted 26 semi-structured qualitative interviews with volunteers, freelancers, paid staff who contribute to different free and open source software projects as, for example, developers, community managers, or as fundraisers. And when we talked to them, one quote came up several times.
Funding for maintenance is hopeless. And maintenance is an essential part of infrastructure development and makes up a sizable part of it. Developers that maintain infrastructure keep the digital world secure and resilient. But funders, on the other hand, often focus on new approaches, on projects that are highly visible and have direct impact. But most infrastructure projects check none of these boxes. This means that infrastructure projects have a hard time applying for funding, even though they lay important groundwork for many other applications that are more visible. To support infrastructure projects effectively, funders need to shift their attention to the essential tasks to be done instead of the glamorous ones. Maintenance work is one of them.
Let's talk about communications. Cultural differences between funders and FOSS frequently come up in communication and stand in the way when it comes to developing a good funder-grantee relationship. FOSS contributors often follow a non-for-profit approach, so market or business terminology doesn't fit their frame of mind. These communities are often sensitive to wording. Let me give you an example. The word growth is an important indicator to measure success in the business sector, but FOSS contributors in our interviews reacted strongly against it. For them, growth means either pressure, since it means more people and more projects depend on their code, or it's just an empty sales promise. Some projects have even dismissed a call for applications or applying to a call for applications because it uses a terminology of innovation or business. In order to avoid this, we believe it makes sense in such cases to rethink the framing of a call on the funder's side and also rethink the impact metrics that will later be applied to evaluate the grantees and their success.
It's important to understand that infrastructure projects vary a lot in their size and the way that they are organized. In our research, we defined 4 types of projects that helped us to unravel how they work specifically and to differentiate between their respective challenges and needs. To give an example, we found that collectives are quite common. They have a specific makeup that puts them at a disadvantage when it comes to funding. They are grassroots communities without a legal entity behind them, without proper organizational structures and clear roles, and their contributor numbers fluctuate a lot.
It's important to know about these different setups to understand why FOSS projects have a harder time to acquire funding compared to more business-oriented projects. There are several factors. For example, the fact that infrastructure projects lack funding roles and organizational and legal structure. But those are often necessary to receive funding and to handle it in a fiscally responsible way. And by the lack of these structures, some projects are much less likely to get any support, even though their work is just as important. So what can funders do? Funders can take a number of steps to counterbalance this. They can work with fiscal sponsors in different regions of the world to distribute their money. They can offer individual fellowships instead of project grants, or they can help grassroots organizations establish financial positions in their own ranks.
Yeah, and these are just a few of the insights that we gathered during our research, which the Ford Foundation and the Sloan Foundation kindly supported. You can find more insights and recommendations about the culture and the values and the unusual needs and quirks of FOSS projects in our report, which you can read or download from the website. The link is on the slide. We hope that it's helpful to your work. We hope that you share it with others. And if there are any questions or comments, please do reach out to us.